Hello dear viewers, I'm Atreyu and I'm currently missing my associate. If you've been here before, I'm sure you know her. Short hair, expressive mask, major dickhead, stuff like that. As it stands, I can't find her and I can't exactly start the video without her, so I don't know what to do. Oh my god, a furry! One Stormy Night, or Arashi no Yorni in Japanese, is a series of children's books written by Yuichi Kimura back in 1994 about a goat named Mei and a wolf named Gabu who meet and form an unlikely friendship. It was pretty popular for the time, with the friendship between Mei and Gabu captivating the hearts of many. Personally, I haven't gone out of my way to read the original material for this video, so if anyone's read the original series, please tell me what you think of it. The important thing I want to focus on when it comes to the books, however, is that the goat character, Mei, was purposely not given a gender due to the author not wanting to limit how people viewed the story and give them the chance to interpret it how they'd wish. In 2005, an animated adaptation of One Stormy Night was released, and is the way most people, including myself, are aware of this series. There was also another series in 2012, but I'm not going to be focusing on that because it looks kind of ugly to me. Where this film deviates from the original source material is that Mei was turned back into a boy instead of remaining genderless, which I guess makes sense because I don't figure most people were woke enough around this time to make an androgynous gender-neutral goat. From what I've seen, this film's become a bit of a cult classic in furry spaces for one specific reason. These two are gay as f***. The relationship between Mei and Gabu has been widely seen as romantic due to a large number of factors in the film, from subtext to literal text to everything in between. So today I want to look at this film and see just how gay these two really are. And before anyone asks, yes, I did watch the dub version of this movie, even though I know that the sub version is objectively better because of reasons I'll get into at the end. But as it stands, I kinda don't care. Sub purists beware, you're in for a scare. Next question. They don't need to know that! The movie begins on a cloudy day as a pack of wolves stalk two goats who are eating together. One of the goats notices this, however, and beckons the smaller one, who we can assume is their child, to run away while they go to fend off the wolves. The mother goat does her best to fend off the wolves, even biting off one of their ears, god damn! But it isn't enough as she's outnumbered and eaten not long after. After that, we cut to the movie's title card.
I just watched someone die. I don't know if this is the appropriate music I should be listening to after that fact.
No!
Now in the present, we see that a goat pack is attempting to retreat after noticing a thunderstorm approaching. We then meet one of our main characters, that being the child goat from the beginning of the movie, named Mei. It begins to thunder, and Mei is separated from his pack due to his fear of thunderstorms. Like, look at the way he's moving, not wasting a cent of that animation budget. Eventually, Mei finds himself at an abandoned barn and seeks refuge inside until the storm clears up. Just then, however, another animal enters the shed, and it's a wolf! Oh no, what's gonna happen? I'm just kidding, the shed's too dark so they can't see one another. Mei starts a conversation with the wolf, whose name is Gabu, and they learn more about one another, like where they live, what they like eating, etc. It's only slightly awkward because they both don't know that they're not actually the same species, so when Gabu says he lives in an area near the wolves, Mei is astonished at how batshit insane he is. Doesn't help when they're both talking about how much they love to eat in a certain area, and Mei means grass, whereas Gabu means the same species as the person right in front of him. They keep talking, and Mei reveals to Gabu about how his mother is dead. However, he appears to have no memory of how it happened, and honestly for the best. I don't think anyone wants to see their mother like this. Gabu reveals that's the same for him when it comes to his mother, and Mei relents that they've got a lot in common. Mei then says it doesn't matter how they look because of how similar they are, so he offers to have lunch with Gabu the next day. Gabu agrees, and they both plan to meet at the barn again to have lunch tomorrow, with Gabu saying they should greet one another with, "We met one stormy night," so they'll know they're talking to the same person. The next day comes, and Mei arrives at the barn first, choosing to surprise his new friend by hiding behind a tree. Gabu arrives not long after and notices movement behind the tree, assuming that it's the same person he met last night. Gabu then yells out, "We met one stormy night," to let Mei know that it's him, and Mei excitedly repeats the same phrase and pops out from behind the tree to look at his new friend! A wolf. Both of them are completely shocked at the identity of who they befriended last night, but they kind of just roll with it and go have lunch together.
Well, I mean,
Gay rights, I guess. In a minute!
The two then reach a cliffside where the path is broken, and while attempting to jump past the gap, Gabu drops his lunch, which he's very clearly unhappy about. They continue to make their way to the lunch spot, and okay, I'm not gonna lie, this next part has gotta be the most unhinged part of this film. Due to his hunger, Gabu starts eyeing Mei's ass and thinking about how much she wants to eat him. Is this animation really necessary? Why is his ass glowing now? Why is this segment dragging on? I don't want to see you thirsting over a Mei's fat ass for 3 minutes. Who directed this? Oh yeah, it gets even more homoerotic later on, don't worry. After that amazing segment, they find themselves at their eating spot and start talking again. Unfortunately, Gabu still feels an urge to eat Mei due to his hunger, so while he's sleeping, he eyes him up and...
But look at him, lying there, looking so tasty. Oh, I bet he'd be delicious.
Oh my god, this dialogue actually caught me so off guard when I was rewatching this film for this video. I know it's because he's hungry, but Jesus, all this eyeing is actually throwing me off so bad. Before Gabu's able to do anything to Mei, however, he wakes up and excuses himself, saying that he needs to get home. Gabu asks if Mei wants to meet up again sometime, and he agrees. We're then taken to a scene with the goat colony's leader, who enacts an order for all goats to travel alongside one another due to the increased ferocity of wolves during winter. Mei tries to sneak off to meet with Gabu, but he's caught by both of his friends who suspect he's up to something. Okay, I said I would keep my comments about the quality of the dub to a minimum, but this goat named Tapper's voice work is actually atrocious.
Honestly, Mei, it's too dangerous to go alone, or even at all.
Mei tells the two about his plans to meet someone who he doesn't disclose the identity of for obvious reasons, and the pink goat named Mina gives a kind of insinuating comment about their relationship.
Oh, Mei, so this friend, you'll be seeing them a lot?
Joshi Queen over here, I guess. Unfortunately, Mei's grandmother comes in and says she doesn't want to risk his safety, so she forces Mina and Tapper to go with him. I know I shouldn't be reading into things so much, but do you see Mei's reaction when Mina acts slightly affectionate towards him? That goat is gay as f***. On the way there, Gabu notices the three of them approaching, so he goes to hide in a bush to avoid being seen by Mina and Tapper. Mei notices him, however, but he's not able to say anything as Tapper starts going into this huge anti-wolf monologue about how ugly they all are, which causes him to accidentally kick Gabu in the head, which pisses him off enough to scare Mina and Tapper away. At the very least, it leaves Mei and Gabu alone together, who finally introduce themselves with their names properly. They both playfully talk about how risky it would be if their meetings were discovered and how they'll have to keep their friendship a secret between the both to avoid any trouble. Eventually the sun sets and Mei returns to his friends who are waiting to see if he was alright. An undisclosed amount of time later, Gabu places a bunch of stones in a specific formation so that Mei, from the other side of the area, can see what place they plan to meet up at, that being Crumbling Hills. Unluckily for Gabu, however, the leader of the wolf pack named Giro says they plan to invade Crumbling Hills to hunt for ghosts the exact same afternoon he plans to meet with Mei, which means that Mei is pretty much in a horrible danger with no way to Gabu to warn him until he gets there. Also, this is pretty minor, but the design of Giro's wolfmate is actually killing me.
See, you guys, she's a girl wolf. You can tell because she's wearing makeup and she's also got a thinner figure because bulky bodies are for men only. You girls, get out of here!
Tidbit out of the way, we cut back to Mei, who's arrived in Crumbling Hills only to find that it's completely foggy. He wonders if he's in danger by sticking to this area, but he pushes the thought away because he figures Gabu would protect him no matter what.
Somehow I don't think that face would work.
Why are you gay? The wolves then arrive at Crumbling Hills and Gabu begins to search for Mei, with Mei realizing that he's in danger and attempting to leave the area. Gabu finds Mei, but another wolf attempts to attack him, so Gabu pushes a fucking rock to try to kill the guy. Jesus! The rock misses, but it causes enough of a distraction for Gabu to grab Mei and run, making it to a cave where they hide together. Mei thanks Gabu for saving him and says that by all means he didn't have to because their friendship is unconventional and not something that most would risk their lives for. Gabu laughs at this though and says that while other wolves might like Mei for his meat, Gabu likes him better as a friend, to which Mei agrees. Eventually the wolves leave and Gabu expresses his disappointment at the fog, which blocks out the sky and negates his plans to watch the moon rise alongside Mei. Mei says it doesn't matter to him, however, because being around Gabu makes him happy enough as is, and they both decide to spend the night together in the cave. Just bestie activities, am I right? However, it's not all good because we cut back to the Goat clan and those who escape the wolves snitch on Mei for hiding alongside a wolf to the shock of everyone in the clan.
Hiding together?
I'm sorry, but this guy's voice acting is f***ing me up.
Okay, but it's funny!
It isn't any better with the Wolf Clan either, because the Wolf Gabu committed attempted murder on, rats him out for trying to protect Mei, which makes Giro angry at his betrayal. So now both sides are aware of their secret meetings due to being outed, meaning they're no longer secret boyfriends. Oh, sorry. Secret friends. Mei gets interrogated about his friendship with Gabu, but he tries to defend him to the anger of everybody around him. Can they stop it with this guy's voice? The goats tell Mei that Gabu's using him for his own gain, and Mei doesn't want to believe it, but they continue to push this idea into his head regardless of what he thinks. We then cut to Gabu, who's also getting interrogated about his friendship with Mei, and the Wolf Clan shuts his words down in the exact same way as the goats, telling Gabu that prey are just to eat and not to make friends with, and that Mei is just using him to learn more about the wolf's plans. As a punishment for his betrayal, Gabu gets thrown into a hole and is told his verdict would come the next day. We cut back to Mei, who's torn between what his clan told him and the idea of it all being genuine, until his grandmother enters. She tells him the truth about how his mother really died all those years ago from a wolf attack, with her fighting back and ripping the ear off one of the wolves until she couldn't stand any longer. That's an interesting tidbit nobody in the movie shares, I'm sure. Anyway, she tells him this to reinforce in Mei's mind that wolves are their enemy, and if he knows what's right, he'll keep away from Gabu from now on. The next day comes, and the goats come to Mei with a proposition, that he's allowed to meet Gabu again under the condition that he uses him purely for information involving the wolves, essentially going against everything their friendship stood for. Reluctantly, Mei accepts, and we see that not long after, the wolves plan to do the same thing with Gabu instead. They tell him to threaten Mei for information when he gets the chance, and if he tries to back out on this, they would come for him, so reluctantly, Gabu also agrees to these circumstances. We then cut to the forest, where apparently the information about Gabu and Mei's friendship has become so widespread that every animal and their goddamn mother is talking about it, as well as how they want to watch how their next meeting will play out. Speaking of, Mei and Gabu meet up at the river with both of their clans carefully watching to make sure they do as they say. It's not just them, however, because like I said, every animal is so goddamn nosy that they're all just here watching. Leave them alone! It starts raining and they both decide to take shelter in a small cave across the river, but Mei slips while crossing and Gabu has to pull him out of the river. They then share this gay ass line like, oh my god, can you both get a room?
Mei, if you keep getting into trouble like this, saving your life is gonna become a habit for me.
Well, I guess I better get used to saying thank you.
It's from this that Gabu comes clean to Mei about what his clan set him up to do, and Mei does the same. With no other options, since they betrayed their clans and are both widely known in the forest now, Gabu suggests that they run away together and find a new home, just the two of them, to which Mei reaffirms he thought the same. They ponder how they could escape their current situation, and realize that jumping into the river is the quickest solution. Before they jump, Mei asks Gabu to promise that he'll survive so they can meet again, to which Gabu accepts and they jump into the river together, letting the tide take them away to the shock of everyone watching.
So I think they're pretty good friends.
Gabu wakes up after the river takes him to shore and he calls out for Mei, who responds shortly after to his relief. The both of them, now in completely new territory, keep walking as Gabu tells Mei that the wolves are most likely going to go after them since word of their survival has made its way to the clans from the other animals. This doesn't deter Mei, however, as both of their eyes are set on the mountain in front of them. They decide to climb over it despite the risks, figuring that there could be another forest behind it where, and I quote,
Another forest, where a wolf and a goat could live together without ever being troubled.
You know, that'd be wonderful.
I know what you are. I know what you are. Unfortunately, the wolf packers haunt their tails and confirms that they are absolutely willing to kill Gabu this time, and that Giro wants Mei's life all to himself. He isn't even aware of it, but goddamn he hates this family. That's some extreme pettiness if I've ever seen it. You've probably connected the dots by now, but Giro is the wolf Mei's mother removed the ear of. Well, at first it sounds like this would be important, especially if Mei is to ever meet Giro. It kinda goes nowhere, as you'll see shortly. We then cut to a scene of Gabu in a forest, scrounging around the area before returning to Mei, who pretends to be asleep before asking just how many animals Gabu killed last night. For as much as I've been joking this whole video, this scene does portray a huge flaw in Gabu and Mei's predator and prey relationship. That being that no matter how close they are, Mei obviously isn't going to be fine with the fact Gabu has to kill other animals as a prey himself, and Gabu obviously isn't willing to starve just to make Mei happy. It's a disconnection between them both that was hardwired from birth, and while I do appreciate the attempt at creating some tension between the both, it also goes nowhere and reminds me of how Mei basically had no reaction to a ton of goats dying in crumbling hills. Before they can keep talking, however, the wolves finally catch up to them and they're forced to hide. Unfortunately, Mei's hoof gets stepped on and their hiding spot is exposed, leading them to run away, and thankfully they're able to jump over a cliff and evade the wolves. As they make their way up the mountain, Mei apologizes to Gabu for what he said earlier involving his need to eat animals, and Gabu accepts it. They stop at a cliff to look at their old homes from high up and share a tender conversation about how glad they are to be away from it all. And more importantly, Mei tells Gabu that he's glad he met him on that stormy night, to which Gabu reciprocates while blushing.
They're gay! They're gay!
As if it can't get any more homosexual, Mei then follows up by saying that anywhere would be good to live as long as Gabu was by his side, to which he bashfully blushes again while looking at Mei tenderly.
Honestly, I was really playing it up for the whole first 30 minutes of the movie with the, oh, they're so gay thing for the funnies, but I am not joking when I say that these last 30 minutes are so explicit about their feelings, like relationship-wise, that it's really hard to see this as just about a friendship. Maybe you can make excuses for the whole running away together thing if you like really hate subtext, but this is like so out there with it.
The next day comes and Mei and Gabu continue climbing the mountain, noticing that the weather is getting colder and more snow is beginning to fall.
Yeah. We'll have perfect weather tomorrow.
So the weather does, in fact, get worse, and Mei's exhaustion causes it to collapse on the ground, to which Gabu digs out a shelter in the snow for the both of them to hide until the weather clears. Also, this moment was pretty cute. Why am I low-key jealous of some anthropomorphic animals? Unfortunately, days pass and the weather has no signs of getting better, leading to Gabu growing hungry and trying to resist thinking of Mei's food. Mei, however, notices this and seeing just how much Gabu has been struggling, offers to let Gabu eat him in order for him to survive. Understandably so, Gabu is not alright with this, but his stomach begins to growl to where all he can do is cry and desperately wish he was never born as a wolf so he could have been with Mei properly. So they're pretty good friends, am I right? Gabu continues to cry, lamenting how if he goes through with this, they'll never get to watch the moon together, and that his survival means nothing if he doesn't have Mei alongside him. Mei then tells Gabu that no matter what happens, everything they went through together would never vanish, and such as long as he remembered that, they would always be together. Gabu finally gives into Mei's offer and tells him that he'll go outside to prepare himself, before they both wish each other a proper goodbye. However, while going to prepare himself, Gabu notices that the wolf pack has caught up to them, so he instead decides to deal with them to protect Mei. He howls and jumps off the cliff to get their attention before ultimately getting jumped because he's just one wolf against 10. Before the wolves can finish him off, however, the noise causes an avalanche that drives the wolves away, including Gabu. The next day comes with improved weather, so Mei is able to leave, but he questions where Gabu went due to never returning. Mei continues forward and reaches the other side of the mountain where a forest awaits just like he'd hoped. However, we see that time passes from winter to spring, and despite being safe and alive, Mei monologues about how he's depressed because he's lost Gabu, blaming himself for letting him leave the shelter. Just as Mei lies in defeat, however, the animals of the forest begin to run and panic at the sight of a wolf, which excites Mei, who believes it could be Gabu. After running in the direction the panic came from, Mei discovers that the wolf was Gabu and happily runs to greet his friend, to which Gabu also runs back and knocks him unconscious and drags his body away to eat. Yeah, so it turns out the avalanche gave Gabu memory loss, so he doesn't remember all the time he spent with Mei and thinks of him purely as food. And as if it can't get any worse, Gabu's plan to watch the full moon with Mei has now twisted into eating Mei under the full moon rise, which is the only reason Gabu didn't kill him right on the spot. Try as he might, none of Mei's attempts to restore Gabu's memory work and only serve to aggravate him until he brings up their saying. The phrase "we met one stormy night" is enough to reach out to Gabu, who progressively regains his memories back after remembering that it all started with that greeting. Gabu, now with his memories back, tearfully reunites with Mei, who'd been waiting weeks to see him again, and they carry out their promise to watch the full moon's rise together. The movie then ends with one final gay-ass line, and the camera pans to the homes they left behind to be together. And with that, the film ends. My fucking god, these bitches gay. Good for them, good for them.
So that was one Stormy night, and I don't care what you people have to say, they were gay as hell.
I've been joking about it primarily, but I do genuinely think that these two's relationship is very sweet and absolutely parallels that of a queer or hell even interracial relationship. From the fact Mei's friend teased him about Gabu in a couple-ish way, to the fact they ran away together to escape the prejudice of others who still followed them after not doing anything to harm them, this entire goddamn scene, and this one, as much as I hate it, there's a lot to pick up from the film to interpret their relationship as more than just a friendship. Of course, you got your people who try to put this down with,
oh, they're just friends. Can't guys just be friends?
but then you have to remember that the original story was written with the intention of not limiting Mei by his gender, and you know damn well most of these people would not be saying this whole "they're just friends" thing if Mei was written to be female. If you see these two as just really good friends, well, good for you, but seeing Mei and Gabu as a homosexual relationship in this film is just as valid of an interpretation. One last thing I wanted to mention is that while researching stuff for this film, I found out that more than half of the dub's voice actors are the exact same guy who had to use a different voice for everyone. It's honestly impressive because I wasn't able to tell that most of these characters were voiced by the same person. Okay, well, most of them at least. Apparently Gabu was supposed to have a different voice actor, but he dropped out for unknown reasons, so Tustin had to take over. Though it does leave you feeling slightly awkward because now all I think about when I see these tender scenes of Gabu and Mei together is the voice actor basically talking to himself the whole time. It's still peak though.
Hey, how was being a furry?
Alright, hey!
Alright, well, that's the end of the video. If you made this far, then thank you for watching, and, you know, have a good day. Bye-bye.
For the second time,